Hi, this video is about the role of a Chief AI Officer in your organization. My name is David Hood, and I'm CEO of 42 Robots AI, where we help organizations implement AI. So there's a few videos that I think are useful to watch that are relevant to these, which is the bad AI solution architecture and the custom AI solutions. So let's get into it. This is a new role that I've heard a lot of companies talk about, and I'm a big believer in it. I think it's so important for just about every organization to really have an AI, somebody who's an advocate for AI. The new capabilities that are brought about by modern large language models are so broadly applicable that they will help just about every business of any significant size and about just about every business process. Like, it is so useful, incredibly useful, to the point to where if you do not do this, if your organization does not have somebody driving AI forward, and your competitors do, they will start to crush you. So let's talk about some of the results you can expect. First of all, have somebody who's accountable for moving this forward. What I've seen in some other organizations when they don't have like a chief AI officer or somebody filling a similar role, there's really no accountability for moving this forward, and you get a bunch of talking and a bunch of not action. And by having somebody who's accountable for, yes, we are moving forward the AI within our organization on a short-term and long-term basis, then that dramatically improves your ability to provide results. Also, and this is why it's useful to watch the bad AI solution architecture, a good chief AI officer is going to understand this key difference, which if I were to boil it down to something really quick, which would be most people look at AI and large language model solutions very LLM-centric, and then they use kind of classic code as tools by the LLM, and based upon our R&D and our working with clients, this is an inappropriate a solution architecture that generally leaves a lot of value on the table. We're talking like 99% of the solutions. This is part of why I think most of the organizations are having trouble building AI agents and actually integrating AI. Versus the real way to think about it is that classic code or just software uses LLMs as tools the other way around, and this opens up a lot of doors. So an understanding and some experience with this type of work is important, of actually building practical real-world solutions that work. And then, as an organization, you should get better and better at AI over time. Even with a great chief AI officer and some fantastic AI engineers, it's not the first time you go at it, it might not work for all sorts of reasons. Or it might not work quite as effectively, or it might take 2-3 passes to get the first solution to work. This is software we're talking about, so it's not super simple and straightforward. And they really should have a practical real-world value solution mindset. Another really big challenge that I've found in the AI space in general is that there's a lot of like hand-wavy, like cool toys, like let's have fun or let's do what's most interesting mindset that puts practical value at a very low in the hierarchy, and when it should really be at the top. And then also the chief AI officer should help with team building. Okay, so let's talk about what skills are needed with a chief AI officer, or let's say wanted/needed. So I would say the more of these they have, the better. And specifically how AI works. Now, they don't need to be a machine learning engineer, but there's some fundamental ideas around how AI works, like with next token prediction or whatever. If they don't know what next token prediction is and the fact that that's how LLMs move forward, well, that's a pretty bad, they are not fit for this position. There's some other more complex things that are still helpful to understand. Somebody who has like an engineering mindset, some amount of software experience. It doesn't have to be like the full everything software experience, but to where they can kind of get the basic fundamental understanding of how AI works. More so how it runs inference, so how it's run versus how it's pre-trained, although that's still important. And then separately, a lot of people think that these are these are the same thing, which is how AI can be leveraged and how AI works. They think, oh, well, it's the same thing. So how AI works at its core is machine learning engineering. But how AI can be leveraged is actually AI engineering. This is separate. This is like the difference between the guy who builds the car and who drives the car. These are two different skill sets. Now, An AI engineer really helps to know the fundamentals of how AI works. They've got these tools that they're using called LLMs, and having a foundational understanding of the key ideas is incredibly helpful for leveraging them. But they don't have to be machine learning engineers. At my company, some of the AI engineers are machine learning engineers, and actually some of them are not. And that's fine. And in fact, there's some pros and cons to having machine learning experience, being actually a machine learning engineer. And then the third piece, this one is a little bit more complicated. So the first two, any chief AI officer should have a basic understanding, and they should have experience actually leveraging large language models, modern large language models. So that would be GPT-4 since April of 2023. They should have some amount of experience there. Now, how to integrate AI, this is a bit differently. There's a lot of different skills and experience and understanding and knowledge that needs to go into this. Number one, some amount of systems experience and understanding. So understanding how, when we put this large language model within this business system, how does it affect the system as a whole? So there's general systems knowledge, and then there is systems knowledge very specific to your company, your industry, your culture, whatever. This is very important. So if you're hiring somebody new, they might not know your culture or your industry, or maybe they do know your industry, but there's still some things that are specific to your organization. That's fine. They don't have to be perfect here. They might also not really be a very systems type thinking person, although that is incredibly helpful as well. But that's why you would hire somebody and they would get into your organization and they'd start to understand all the little nuances of the system as a whole. And this is important for them to train and study and think on. Leadership. I alluded to this before, which some of the stuff I mentioned up here, like accountability, that's leadership. Team building, that's leadership. There's a little bit more detailed here. So hiring AI engineers. So the primary people who work on building your solutions within your organization and actually solving real world problems are AI engineers. So this person needs to be able to hire an AI engineer. They need to be able to, and this is why, if you have somebody who just is like a manager, or they've never actually coded in Python and called an API from a large language model, so they've never actually tried to build a solution. They don't know even the basics of how LLMs work. They're gonna have a really hard time hiring a good AI engineer, because there's a lot of posers out there. There's a lot of people slapping AI engineer on their resume with no rhyme or reason to backing it up, other than, I can get paid more. This is a very valuable skill set. In fact, I think it's one of the most valuable skill sets in the world right now, which is how to control AI essentially. And so being able to hire, and this is a two-way street too. It's not just about them understanding. It's also the good AI engineers want to know that the person in charge of them has some understanding of what they're going to do. This is pretty basic, especially when it comes to software. Nerds, they don't want some dummy who has no clue what their job is to tell them what to do. And if you have somebody who has experience building real-world solutions and can actually contribute to the technical solution, even if it's just a few ideas here and there or some good questions, that goes a really long way to not just hiring them, but keeping them and leading the AI engineer. The AI engineer probably has less experience like integrating in the business priorities than the chief AI officer should. So this is where the chief AI officer will do a better job of leading the AI engineer and having them be able to give pushback when the AI engineer tries to spec out things in a particular way and tweak it in a way that fits the business priorities a little better. And I alluded to this next one a lot before, which is the internal advocate. If you don't have somebody in your organization driving things and really pushing people because there's work, no matter how much value AI can provide to a specific business process, somebody out there, at least one person, has to do some amount of work to enable it to happen. Even if it's just 5 minutes of click, 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 give me access to these certain things, or click, 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 call this API to solve this problem. Somebody has to do an amount of work. And so if they're not being pushed by somebody, their manager might not care. And if it's coming all the way from the top, like the CEO, that's a little bit different. The CEO might not have time or energy versus somebody internally who's like, hey, this needs to move forward. Here's the value proposition. You need to do this, and we really need your help in this way. And maybe even be able to sell to them as like, this is how it's going to help you do your job better and make you look better by you doing this. So somebody who has experience and a big invested interest in pushing this forward internally as an advocate is important for the leadership. And identify opportunities. This is also critical. I don't know if this kind of falls under vision as well, but being able to look at your system as a whole, as an organization, and see where do we get the biggest bang for our buck. What's the cost to doing something? Where are the opportunities and the value, and how does that affect the system as a whole? This is incredibly useful and not simple. This is where you kind of have to have all three of these together to really do a good job of this. And then again, I mentioned ownership of the result. So owning the result, being somebody where the buck stops here in terms of over the last quarter or year, how much did we move forward on this key area? Okay, so also vision. So just having a finger on the pulse. Somebody who pays attention to AI news, somebody who knows when a new model comes out. I don't think you necessarily have to know every little thing that in AI, because there's a lot of minutia that isn't really relevant and a lot of tech bro excitement around things that are not that big in the AI space. But in general, they should know the broad sweeping things of the trends so that they can see what's coming. And so when something does come, you guys can take advantage of it right away. Because there are new things coming out I wouldn't say as rapid as some people suggest, but there are new things coming out on a semi-regular basis. So you want somebody who's going to be aware and who's not going to be caught off guard 6 months later. Oh, there was a new top-tier model. What? And then long-term planning. It's not just about what's the next project. It's about what's the next 10 projects. What's going on within the organization that needs to be fixed on a long-term basis to make this work. It's because there's more to this than just solving a few problems here or there. So this is actually really critical, and this also goes back to this understanding of systems. And then generating new ideas. If you put all the knowledge in the hands of just the people at your organization, there's going to be ideas that you're going to be leaving on the table. A good chief AI officer is going to be able to look at across many different parts of your organization and go, oh, here's something that nobody's mentioned, or here's something that nobody mentioned. This is going to be incredibly valuable because you need to start generating these. If you're liking this video, please like it. Give me some comments below. Let me know what you think, and subscribe for more. Okay, so long-term muscle building. And this is maybe part of the long-term planning, but generally this can involve training your general population. So the general people who aren't AI engineers that can leverage AI. They have opportunities just to use Claude or ChatGPT or some other chat bot directly and get value, get productivity and efficiency value directly out of it without having to build a custom solution. Now that's only a small percentage of what's on the table here, and maybe there's some halfway points where instead of directly a chat bot, there's a simple set of tools that your AI engineers build for people at your organizations to help in sales and accounting and legal and basically any sort of knowledge work. AI, large language models can almost certainly help your company do more better and with less. And then, this is navigating and breaking down political barriers. So this is part of being an advocate, but it's also understanding that you're going to have people, again, who have to work, and you're going to have bosses of those people who want to put them on certain things, and there's going to be people with strong opinions about AI without really fully understanding things, and you need somebody with some amount of political acumen who can go in and say, I'm sorry you think that way, but here's some different ways, blah, blah, blah. It kind of smoothing those over, that's going to be really important. And then research and development. You got to take a lot of this AI work with, it's not going to just, you have 5 projects and all 5 of them are going to work and provide amazing value. That's not a reasonable expectation. There's still a lot of new things here that nobody really understands. I wouldn't say nobody really understands. There's a lot of opportunities on the table that no one's really tried. And especially even within a single organization, there's just going to be a lot of stuff you're going to have to try. And some of it's going to be like, well, we don't really know exactly how this aspect of it would work, but we're going to try. We think there's some opportunity. Maybe it will work, maybe it won't. And so having a little bit of a mindset towards testing this, maybe building some foundational building blocks is going to be useful. All right, so we do offer fractional Chief AI Officer services. So definitely if you're like, I don't think I can afford a full-time, or it's really hard to find a full-time Chief AI Officer. There's not many people that have the combination of skills and experience to make this really happen. Because you can't just hire a manager, and you can't just hire a machine learning engineer, or even necessarily an AI engineer is probably the closest, but that might not get you there. You kind of need all 3 of those things that I mentioned, and we can help you with that. But also, by hiring a fractional, you can get one really quickly. especially with us, because we do have the experiences needed to do this. And there's, like I point out, there's just not a lot of people who have this real world experience. You can't have 10 years chief AI officer experience. You can't have 10 years of AI engineering experience with the modern LLMs. They're very different than what an LLM or an AI work was 5 years ago. So it's very hard to find these, and there's a very limited supply. So if that sounds like a great deal to you and you're interested in that, give us a call or click the link below, and you'll also get a free custom AI implementation roadmap. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye.